And so, yeah, we're ready.
Yes, so, translation. In Vrindavan, the Kadamba trees offer obeisances, their flowering branches reverentially touching the ground. Bumblebees enjoy pastimes in Vrindavan, which is filled with a very sweet fragrance. Radha and Krishna stay in the place where they enjoy pastimes. How beautiful they are! Their bodies are decorated with jewel ornaments, and they are wealthy, with many gem mines of intelligence and wit. Dear Giridhari holds Srimati Radharani's right hand, and together they gracefully stroll about. The gopis shower flowers before and behind them, and one gopi fans them with a charmer whisk. That place is filled with the aromatic pollen of the lotus, and it is made pleasantly cool by the shining of the moon. On a raised platform there Radha and Krishna dance, holding hands, the hairs of their bodies standing up in ecstasy. Yeah. So he's giving us a vision of Golok Vrindavan, where Radha and Krishna are the center. All the gopis are engaged in serving them in the forest in the Kadamba trees. The bumblebees also, they are humming, everybody is singing Hare Krishna mantra. Uh, there's sweet fragrance. Radha Krishna are enjoying pastimes together, and then the gopis are showering flowers on them, fanning them. Yes. You want to add something?
No, that's anything else? Okay, so we'll read Srimad Bhagavatam. Just one minute, let me invite everybody. Sunday morning. Just 1 minute. Hello? हाँ वो एक्चुअली टेम्पल में हेल्प चाहिए इफ यू आर फ्री यू कैन गो ओके दे नीड हेल्प फॉर द कुकिंग या ओके हरे कृष्ण ओके ओके कैन रीड श्रीमद् भागवतम few verses. So we are on Canto 3, Chapter 29, Explanation of Devotional Service by Lord Kapila on verse 17. Mahatam bahumanena dinanam anukampaya maitra chaivatma tulyeshu yamena niyamena cha. So yam and niyam we can understand. Yam, niyam, asan, pranayam. Rules and regulations, the do's and don'ts. Mahatam bahumanena. Mahatam means to the great souls. Bahuman means with great respect. One should offer respects to the great souls. Dinanam anukampaya. So Dina is poor and Anukampa is mercy. Teshama eva anukampartham. Maitreya chaivatma tulyeshu. Maitreya is friendship. Tulyeshu is equal. And Atma tulyeshu to person who are equals, Yamena, Niyamena, Cha. So let's see how Prabhupada has put this into. The pure devotee should execute devotional service by giving the greatest respect to the spiritual master and the acharyas. He should be compassionate to the poor and make friendship with persons who are his equals. But all his activities should be executed under regulation and with control of the senses. So, to the superiors, we reserve them. To the equals, we make friendship, and to the innocent or lower, one shows compassion. And while doing that, one should execute everything should be under the control of the senses. Okay. In Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, it is clearly stated that one should execute devotional service and advance on the path of spiritual knowledge by accepting the Acharya. That is Acharya Upasnam Saucham Sthairyam Atma Vinigraha Amanitvam Adhamitvam Ahimsa Shantirarjavam Acharya Upasnam Saucham Sthairyam Atma Vinigraha. That first verse of 13.8 describes one should worship the Acharya, so Srila Prabhupada is our Acharya, founder Acharya. And as Maldi Prabhu was saying yesterday, we don't just say Jai Prabhupada, but we follow what Prabhupada is saying. Acharya Upasanam, one should worship an Acharya, a spiritual master who knows things as they are. The spiritual master must be in the disciplic succession from Krishna. The predecessors of the spiritual master are his spiritual master, his grand spiritual master, his great grand spiritual master, who form the disciplic succession of acharyas. It is recommended herewith that all acharyas be given the highest respect. It is said, Gurushu Naramati. Mati means intelligence, to think he is an ordinary person. Gurushu means unto the acharyas, and Naramati means thinking like a common man. Mati means like thought also, inclination. To think that he is an ordinary person. To think of the Vaishnavas, the devotees, as belonging to a particular caste or community. To think of the acharyas as ordinary men, or to think of the deity in the temple as being made of stone, wood, or metal is condemned. There's a big verse like that. To think of the Guru as an ordinary person, to consider the deity as the stone, there are more things also in that. To deride a Vaishnava for his past, something like that. Past, because of his, that is a nectar of instruction. Yeah, Arche Vishnu Shiladir, Guru Shunadar Naramatir Vaishnave Jati Buddhir, Vishnur Va Vaishnavanam, Kali Malamathera Pada Tirthi Ambu Buddhi, Shri Vishnu Namni Mantre Sakula, Kalusha He Shabda Samanya Buddhir. Want to read the translation?
No one should consider the deity in the temple to be made of stone or wood, nor should one consider the spiritual master an ordinary human being. No one should consider a Vaishnav to belong to a particular caste or creed, and no one should consider Charanamrit or Ganges water to be like ordinary water. Nor should anyone consider the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to be a material vibration. All these expansions of Krishna in the material world are simply demonstrations of the Lord's mercy and willingness to give facility to his devotees who are engaged in his devotional service within the material world.
So these are all representations of the Supreme Lord, beginning from the Acharya, the deity form, Ganga, water, and everything. So one should Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So we should not think this is just ordinary and take it for granted like that. Should offer respects. So to think of the Vaishnavas, the devotees, as belonging to a particular caste or community, to think of the acharyas as ordinary men, or to think of deity in the temple as being made of stone, wood, or metal is condemned. Niyamena, one should offer the greatest respect to the acharyas according to standard regulations. A devotee should also be compassionate to the poor. This does not refer to those who are poverty stricken materially. According to devotional vision, a man is poor if he is not in Krishna consciousness. A man may be very rich materially, but if he is not Krishna conscious, he is considered poor. That's why Prabhupada didn't want like food to be distributed only in the poor areas, prasadam, because according to him, everybody is poor. Though all we are all poor. We may have a lot of money, but we are poor if we are not Krishna conscious. So, on the other hand, many acharyas such as Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami used to live beneath trees every night. Superficially, it appeared that they were poverty stricken, but from their writings, we can understand that in spiritual life, they were the richest personalities. So many devotees are poor, like Sudama, Rupa Goswami, all they were. Or they put themselves in a poverty stricken condition. They were in a very affluent situation, but they gave it up. Tyaktva turnam ashesha mandalapati sadashrenim tuchchavat. Why? Because they wanted to engage in the service of the Lord. Instead of engaging in the service of that Nawab, they wanted to engage in the service of Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya told them to write books, to excavate holy places, like that, to guide people, to show renunciation by example. So they were living underneath a tree, as Prabhupada says. They used to sleep under different trees every night. And they were wearing kopin, kopi the kantashito. So devotee is not judged by material conditions. How wealthy devotee is what is his devotion to Krishna. How much he surrendered to Krishna. That's the real wealth of a devotee. In material consciousness, we see everything based on material considerations. But like Prabhupada, he saw, who was he? He saw Gaur Govind Swami, who was wandering like a mendicant. And Prabhupada says, he recognized him and he said, I'll give you sannyas. And like that. A devotee shows compassion to those poor souls who are wanting in spiritual knowledge by enlightening them in order to elevate them to Krishna consciousness. So, those who don't have the knowledge and those who have the knowledge, it is a responsibility to distribute knowledge. As Malti Prabhu was saying yesterday, we are supposed to push on this Krishna consciousness movement. And Lord Chaitanya said, I am one gardener and I have many fruits to distribute. How many can I distribute? Please help me distribute these fruits. So, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also says, those who have life, they can preach. So, devotee shows compassion to those poor souls who are wanting in spiritual knowledge. If nobody preached, then we would not also have become devotee. Or we are trying to become devotee. At least we know that we have to become Krishna conscious. But how did we know that? Because somebody gave us a book, we came in touch with some devotees. We went to a temple. The temple was constructed because of the devotees. So, a devotee shows compassion to those poor souls who are wanting in spiritual knowledge by enlightening them in order to elevate them to Krishna. So even if the devotee is in a very nice material situation, but if he is not Krishna conscious, the acharya feels very, very sad. So like Prabhupada said on Jaladuta, here the population is absorbed in the modes of passion and ignorance, and they think themselves very happy. But he said, I want to convince them of your message. But I don't know how I'll be able to convince them of your message, because I have no knowledge, I have no devotion. But if you like, you can make my words suitable for their understanding like that. So even we know how people were playing golf and Prabhupada was crying. So so everybody is suffering in this material existence, in the cycle of birth and death. And this material opulence basically is an obstacle if it is not used properly, because then it will distract you with so many engagements and like that, so many desires, and then you don't have time to come to temple, you have no sadhana, you have no time to chant Hare Krishna, because you are too engrossed in improving your material situation. So that's what happens. And Kali Yuga is going to get worse. So just sustenance is going to be an issue. People will have to work harder and harder. So this is the situation in Kali Yuga. Lot of competition, not many jobs, so much competition. So many people are unemployed in countries like Spain and things like that. So in India also. So it's a struggle. And all this struggle is because we have become Krishna Vimukh. We have turned away from Krishna. So all this struggle has started. So now the devotee's duty is to make them Krishna Unmukh. They want is to make them turn towards Krishna and away from sense gratification. That's the goal of the devotee. As Prahlad Maharaj says, Maya Sukhaya Bharam Udvahato Vimudan. I am simply lamenting for all these people like us who are in this material existence and who have turned away from you for the purpose of sense gratification. Shoche tatho vimukha chetasa indriyartha. For artha means for the purpose of sense gratification, they have turned their face away from you. Soche tatho vimukha chetasa indriyartha. Maya sukhaya bharam. For the illusory happiness, they are taking a big load on their shoulder. Maya Sukhaya Bharam Udvahato Vimudan. I am worried for all these people who are suffering in this cycle of birth and death. So that is the compassion of Prahlad Maharaj. So that is one of the duties of a devotee. So we may not have so much compassion, or we are not, but because Prabhupada has compassion and he ordered us to spread this. So we are doing it as a service to him. He should also make friendship with persons who are on an equal level with himself. Prabhupada says, you cannot repay the debt to the spiritual master. But if you want to repay, then you should preach vigorously, like me, he said. So whatever we know about Krishna, we can talk to others. Even Saraswati, the daughter of Malti Prabhu, was saying, do you know who is Krishna? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada says, yes, she is also preaching. So he should also make friendship with persons who are on an equal level with himself or who have the same understanding that he does. For a devotee, there is no point in making friendships with ordinary persons. He should make friendship with other devotees so that by discussing among themselves, they may elevate one another on the path of spiritual understanding. This is called Ishta Koshti. So, discussing Hari Katha and Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, like that, with devotees will actually increase our attraction. Mitho Ratir, Mitho Tushti. Will be satisfied. Will become attracted to Krishna and Nivrittir Mitha Atmana. So we'll become detached from material sense gratification, which is the cause of all trouble. I think that's how it is translated. Parasparanukathanam pavanam bhagvadyashaha mitho ratir mitho tushti nivrittir mitratmana. Nivritti means will become renounced. Nivritti tarshe rupagiyamanat bhava ushat shutra manobhiramat. So, renounce from sense gratification and attach to the service of Krishna. That's the goal of life. In Bhagavad Gita, there is reference to Bodhayanta Parasparam, discussing among themselves. Generally, pure devotees utilize their valuable time in chanting and discussing various activities of Lord Krishna or Lord Chaitanya amongst themselves. There are innumerable books such as the Puranas, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Upanishads, which contain countless subjects for discussion among two devotees or more. Friendship should be cemented between persons with mutual interest and understanding. Such persons are said to be Swajati, of the same caste. So birds of the same feather flock together. Like some places, they read Prabhupada's books and discuss. Like in Govardhan, Vaisheshika Prabhu and everybody, for a month, they go and during Kartik and they just discuss, read Prabhupada's books and probably discuss Keshav Bharati Maharaj and like that. So the devotee should avoid a person whose character is not fixed in the standard understanding, even though he may be a Vaishnava or a devotee of Krishna. If his character is not correctly representative, then he should be avoided. So devotees who are not fixed in Krishna consciousness, of course, it doesn't mean we hate anybody, but if our association, if our advancement is going to be affected by such association, Prabhupada could come and associate with the hippies and everybody because he was very strong in Krishna consciousness. But otherwise, if we associate with devotees who are slack, then our whatever we have, that will also become slack. So one should steadily control the senses and the mind and strictly follow the rules and regulations, and he should make friendship with persons of the same standard. Ideally, we should look for advanced association because in that advanced association, we will also become advanced. Like a student wants to do nicely in his exam, he wants to be with those who are very, sincere and who also, or those who are very bright students. Then he will also become bright in their association. So here it says persons of the same standard. So at least those who are enthusiastic about devotional service, about going back home, back to God, about becoming detached from sense gratification. So like that, those who are enthusiastic in this regard, then one should associate with them. Okay, so or whatever our level is, at that level, associate. Prabhupada is saying here. Okay, so that's the. Any other comments? You can read the next verse. Yeah, go ahead.
This verse is similar to the verse of Narad Muni to Dhruva Maharaj.
Yeah, correct.
If a person meets someone who's more qualified than himself, we should be very pleased. Hates that we should respect. And then if you meet someone who's equal, you should show friendship and compassionate to one who's less qualified.
Generally, we don't know who is at what level because it's an internal thing. But through their actions and through their words, that also you can't know really because unless you know, you observe the person very, very.
Yeah, in the beginning, like a newcomer may not know anything, right? So, but they may quickly rise up to a higher level.
Yeah, and when we are with devotees, we don't know. We may think, oh, he has just started, but he may be very advanced because they are very, from their past life, they are very attached and naturally very renounced. So, yeah,
So in general, amani namani dena, giving respect to everyone.
we should think, yes, I am lower than everybody. Of course, then how can you preach if you think you're lower? How can you preach to somebody who's higher than you? You don't go and
I
preach
think
to sannyasi.
preaching is preaching is Makchitta Madgata Pran, is glorifying Krishna, and also we are hearing our own preaching. So preaching is for us, for our purification.
But for instance, I will not go and instruct Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, you should do this. Prabhupada, you should do that. Bodhayanta is also there. Bodhayanta means, bodh means to instruct. Yeah, discuss, but we don't tell
So we
like,
never instruct someone, right? In preaching, we don't instruct someone. We present the instructions of our Guru and say
but
that
to
the
an advanced
Srimad
devotee,
Bhagavatam is presenting that.
yeah, to an advanced devotee who already knows, we don't go and say to Malti Mataji, oh, this you do this like this is how it should be done, and we present this
No,
is you
but
should surrender to Krishna. You should surrender to Krishna. Like that, we
no,
don't.
but I mean, advanced devotees, like Prabhupada would also sit in the class of his disciples.
That is to
Radheshyam
correct
Prabhu
him.
sits
That
in
is
the
to
class
correct,
of.
yeah, correct the disciples and see how they have understood the philosophy. Obviously, his position is higher than the disciples, but he is wanting to see how they are presenting Krishna consciousness and training them, like how. Of
Yeah.
course,
So preaching,
in his humility, he also said, if one of my disciples becomes strong in Krishna consciousness, then I have some hope. Right in the Dhruva Maharaj purport, he wrote like that when Dhruva Maharaj's mother was going to the spiritual world. I mean, so he was saying that if one of my disciples becomes strong in Krishna consciousness, then I also have hope. But that's his humility, like that.
yeah, but preaching is not giving instructions, is presenting the instructions of our acharyas to
You
others.
can say presenting or giving instructions. Like Guru gives instructions. He's
But considering that we are ourselves may not be following the instructions, how can we give instructions to others?
that is there. We like supposing I say tell somebody that oh you should surrender to Krishna. We are just presenting the instructions or giving the instructions, but and that person may become more advanced than us because we are giving the we are like a postman, so we are giving the instructions as we have heard from our Guru. Of course, we should follow and then give the instructions because then otherwise it'll be hypocrisy. So that I'm saying, oh, you should not smoke, and I'm smoking. So that's there, correct. But you don't have
But
to be a
I mean,
pure devotee.
we present the highest standards, which we may not be following because, as a pure devotee, they have the highest standard and we are presenting that.
Correct,
So we should never be in the mood of instructing others unless we are a spiritual master.
correct. Yeah, like when we give a class, we are presenting, but we are also telling the people you should chant, one should chant. Of course, we are not forcing anybody. Nobody can force anybody that, oh, you should do this, you should do this, because everybody has their free will. Because, but through, like we say, one should become free from lust, one should become, one should rise early in the morning, one should chant. So that's like giving instruction, but everybody, we may not also be following, and others also, how much they want to follow, they can follow. So it's not, there is no force in the.
Yeah, but we don't have the authority to instruct others.
No, on the
But
like present,
we are
instruct means we are forcing others. Like you're, I think what you mean by instructing is like you are forcing others to, but we are not, we cannot force anybody to, even Krishna doesn't force that you know you now you should fight. He says I have present, I have told you everything, now you act on this, and now you decide what you want to do. So so that's, yeah, we are not forcing anybody because devotional service, if it's forced, then it is not devotional service. So correct, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we are presenting what we have learned and we are sharing the knowledge with
Yeah,
others.
yeah.
And preaching is first meant for us.
Mm,
We are trying to learn.
yeah. And give the knowledge to others, distribute, like we distribute Prabhupada's books, right? So when we say, okay, this is Bhagavad Gita, what this Bhagavad Gita will do for you, we are trying to convince them to take a Bhagavad Gita. So, you know, so that they will feel inspired to read the pure devotee's words. So, what is there in the Bhagavad Gita? How we are suffering in the cycle of birth and death. They have no information about that. So, okay. A devotee should always try to hear about spiritual matters and should always utilize his time in chanting the holy name of the Lord. His behavior should always be straightforward and simple. And although he is not envious but friendly to everyone, he should avoid the company of persons who are not spiritually advanced. So I'll read this again. A devotee should always try to hear about spiritual matters and should always utilize his time in chanting the holy name of the Lord. So Kirtaniya Sadahari. His behavior should always be straightforward and simple. So no duplicity. Very honest dealings. Although he is not envious but friendly to everyone, he should avoid the company of persons who are not spiritually advanced. So non-devotee association, it should be given up. Asat sangatyaga e Vaishnavachar. Of course, we may say, well, I am also not a devotee because I am also not perfect. So, but then we can understand, yeah, there are people who are interested in spiritual, like they want to chant, they want to hear, they want to serve Krishna. And there are people who are less interested or not interested at all. So, if you want to be progressive, then we have to look forward to the higher advanced devotees. That is what it's saying here. In order to advance in spiritual understanding, one has to hear from authentic sources about spiritual knowledge. One can understand the reality of spiritual life by following the strict regulative principles and by controlling the senses. To have control, it is necessary that one should be non-violent and truthful, refrain from stealing, abstain from sex life, and possess only that which is absolutely necessary for keeping the body and soul together. So we have to hear in parampara, whatever we, like Maldi Prabhu was saying yesterday, that she is repeating what she has heard from Prabhupada, and because she had a lot of association with Prabhupada. So, uh, yeah, to make spiritual advancement, one should follow the regulative principles and control the senses. Uh, and to control, Prabhupada is saying one should be non-violent, truthful, refrain from stealing, abstain from sex life, and possess only that which is absolutely necessary for keeping the body and soul together. So, not increase one's necessities beyond certain thing. Otherwise, kamasya nendriya pritir labho jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jigyasa nartho yaschiha karma bhi. One should not eat more than necessary. He should not collect more paraphernalia than necessary. He should not talk unnecessarily with common men, and he should not follow the rules and regulations without purpose. He should follow the rules and regulations so that he may actually make advancement. So we have the four principles. There are 18 qualifications mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, among which is simplicity. One should be without pride. One should not demand unnecessary respect from others. And one should be non-violent. Amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa. One should be very tolerant and simple. One should accept the spiritual master and one should control the senses. These are mentioned here and in Bhagavad Gita as well. So one should be very humble. One should not be. Prabhupada defined humility. One should not demand unnecessary respect from others, and one should be non-violent. Ahimsa. Okay. These are mentioned here and in Bhagavad Gita as well. One should hear from authentic sources on how to advance in spiritual life. Such instructions should be taken from the Acharya and should be assimilated. It is especially mentioned here, Nama Sankirtana Cha. One should chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Either individually or with others. Lord Chaitanya has given special stress to the chanting of the holy names of the Lord as the basic principle of spiritual advancement. Another word used here is arjavena, meaning without diplomacy. A devotee should not make plans out of self interest. Of course, preachers sometimes have to make some plan to execute the mission of the Lord under proper guidance. But regarding personal self-interest, a devotee should always be without diplomacy, and he should avoid the company of persons who are not advancing in spiritual life. So how do we know who is advancing in spiritual life, or how we are making spiritual advancement? What is the symptom? What is the test of spiritual advancement?
That we are becoming more detached from sense enjoyment. And of course, we have Shanti, Ravyartha, Kalatvam, Virakti, Manashumita, those symptoms of bhav we are approaching.
Yeah, basically Prabhupada would say test of spiritual advancement is how we are becoming attached to Krishna. There's a whole thing. How one is becoming fearless. How he is envying no one. So there is a how he is becoming humble, not hankering for respect. Like this is 13.8. So he says, as for actual advancement, one should have tests to see how far he is progressing. He can judge by this how we are developing the good qualities. Where Krishna mentions that this is the one that makes one one devoted to Krishna. So like that, according to that is a test of advance. One who is advanced devotional is never attracted by sex life. As soon as one becomes detached from sex life and proportionally attached to the service of the Lord, he actually experiences living in Vaikuntha planets. Means sense gratification, becoming detached from sense gratification. If one is advanced in Krishna consciousness, material activities, both sinful and pious, automatically become distasteful to him. That is the test of Krishna. So he is not also involved with karma kanda and like that. One's development of a taste for it is the test. So how much we want to follow the instructions, how much we have a taste to follow the do's and don'ts is the test of one's devotional service. Bhakti pareshanubhavo virakti anyaturcha. So when we are surrendering to the Lord, then devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and detachment. He no longer, bhakti, the only attachment is to Krishna. Devotee's only attachment is Krishna. He no longer wants to maintain his attachments to many other things. So like that it goes on. And he sees everybody in spiritual consciousness, being learned and advanced in spiritual. The test of advanced spiritual consciousness is that one becomes fearless. He envies no one and is always engaged in the Lord's service. He sees every living entity as an eternal part and parcel of the Lord, rendering service according to his capacity by the will of the Supreme Lord. This is the test by which one can tell whether he is advancing in devotional service. One must be detached from material enjoyment. Such detachment means that Maya has actually given the conditioned soul liberation from illusory enjoyment. When one is advanced in Krishna consciousness, he does not consider himself as good as Krishna. So slowly and gradually one becomes distasteful or develops distaste for material enjoyment as one advances. It doesn't happen immediately, but it takes some time. This is a test of advancement. A person advancing in Krishna must lose interest in material activities and personal sense gratification. So, like that. Then he says Manglarti. He's talking about Manglarti. Here in the material world, you enjoy. If you it becomes hackneyed. Puna punascharvita. Therefore, you are disappointed. But if you engage in the service of Krishna, you will find new and new encouragement. That is spiritual. If you find it hackneyed, then you must know that you are not serving spiritually, you are serving materially. So the test is within our hand. If during Mangalarti we feel laziness, that means I am not yet spiritually advanced. And if one feels enthused, so we can make show also that, oh, I am, but internally one should feel that, oh, this is so nice, Mangalarti, this Japa, this Tulsi Puja, this is so wonderful, I'm getting the opportunity. I'm getting another opportunity. I'm eager for that opportunity. Again, another day Krishna has given me to chant the holy name. Again, another Mangalarati, like that. Now it is time for Mangalarati. Let me stand up, let me do this, then it is spiritual. So initially you have to force, but then it becomes spontaneous. So then he says, this is, if you become Krishna, if you are improving in spiritual life, proportionately, you will be detached from materialistic way of life. That is a test. Simply thinking, I'm meditating so much, I'm making very good advancement. It is not. You have to test. Improvement of spiritual life means that you become detached to the materialistic way of life. So this is not from Prabhupada, but this is 11:242. I think it's a lecture, so it must be. Okay. How one is spiritual advance will be tested, how he has acquired all the good qualities. Okay. So if we are not there, then we have a lot of work to do in Krishna consciousness. We have to get more taste. Maybe we are making offenses. We have to see what's wrong in my life, spiritual life, because I'm not feeling that much detached or that much attached to Krishna. So then what we are doing wrong, we have to examine and in this way correct ourselves by the mercy of spiritual master and Krishna.
Yeah, I think Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, he was saying, right? Like these disciples, people who have worms in their stomach,
Ah,
like they're eating, but they're not getting any nourishment, and they're still weak and malnourished
correct.
because of secret bad habits. He said, uh,
Sutapa Prabhu was saying, right? Swayam Bhagavan Krishna in his
yeah.
class in Vrindavan. Yeah. Yes.
Basically, we are performing activities that are pratikul to bhakti.
What you are doing when you are alone, that's Krishna is also seeing. Like Sahajiyas, they're like outside they are, so we also may be hypocritical. So we have to examine what is my thought process? What am I doing? What are my activities when I'm alone, when nobody is seeing? And when in the time of distress, where is my thoughts? Who am I taking shelter of? So these are the one things that you know will show how spiritually advanced you are. So because in front of devotees I can wear tilak and dhoti kurta and everything, but what am I thinking of when I'm alone? Or what am I doing when I'm alone? And that's also another example he gave of the rowing the boat. You're rowing, 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 but the boat is going nowhere because you have not removed the anchor. So that is one offense to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. So even maintaining this bodily conception of life after hearing so many times that we are not this body, but it's very difficult to get out of this bodily conception of life. Only through Krishna's mercy and Acharya's mercy that can happen completely. So to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter, is an offense. And that is why, because of the offense, that means there is certain our own, like Prabhupada said, why is Maya so, somebody asked, why Maya is so strong? Because your, why is Maya so,
Purpose is not. Because your purpose is not strong.
your purpose is not strong. So our determination is not strong. That's why Maya appears to be strong. So we have to increase our determination. Like Yashoda was so determined to bind Krishna. Of course, you may say, well, that determination also comes from Krishna. Yes, but there is a certain desire and free will that the jiva has, according to which he gets determination from Krishna. So, like in the Kala Krishna's pastime, he says, Maya is so strong that unless one is determined, even the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot give protection. So, okay. Yeah, so that's even the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot give protection. So that is the, so we have to be very strongly determined in bhakti. And that determination comes from one determination, is to chant and hear nicely. If we just chant Hare Krishna and make a determination to hear this Mahamantra nicely, then all other things will come from this chanting. That's the only. If we do the chanting very nicely and pray to Krishna to give determination, and we make sankalpa while chanting, yes, I want to chant this mantra nicely. If my mind is wandering, I'll bring it back. Mind is wandering, I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back. So that's the determination that you're supposed to have. Wherever the mind goes, Krishna says, Yato yato nischalati manaschanchalam astiram tatas tato niyamita atmani eva vasham bhavet. So that is. So ultimately, strong determination. Prabhupada's determination was so strong that despite many setbacks, he kept going. So that's, we have to increase the determination. Seeing that determination, Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita about the sparrow who was determined to empty the ocean, and because of that, Garuda came and helped. So he said, God helps those who help themselves. He writes this statement. So we can be doing all devotional activities, but unless this anchor is removed, the boat is not going to move forward. It's like rowing, working hard, but the anchor is there. So boat is just moving in the same place. So it is especially mentioned here, Nama Sankirtanacha. One should chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Either individually or with others. Lord Chaitanya has given special stress to chanting of these holy names of the Lord as the basic principle of spiritual advancement. Another word used here is Arjavena, meaning without diplomacy. A devotee should not make plans out of self-interest. Of course, preachers sometimes have to make some plan to execute the mission of the Lord under proper guidance, but regarding personal self-interest, a devotee should always be without diplomacy, and he should avoid the company of persons who are not advancing in spiritual life. Another word is Arya. Aryans are persons who are advancing knowledge of Krishna consciousness as well as in material prosperity. The difference between the Aryan and non-Aryan, the Sura and Asura, is their standard of spiritual, is in their standards of spiritual advancement. Association with persons who are not spiritually advanced is forbidden. Lord Chaitanya advised Asat Sangha Tyag. One should avoid persons who are attached to the temporary. Asat is one who is too materially attached, who is not a devotee of the Lord, and who is too attached to women or enjoyable material things. Such a person, according to Vaishnava philosophy, is a persona non grata. I don't know how this is pronounced. So, asat sanga tyage Vaishnavachar, stri sangi Krishna bhakta eka asadhuar. Those are not devoted interests. That's the verse being quoted here. A devotee should not be proud of his acquisitions. The symptoms of a devotee are meekness and humility. Although spiritually very advanced, he will always remain meek and humble, as Kaviraj Goswami and all the other Vaishnavas have taught us by personal example. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that one should be humbler than the grass on the street and more tolerant than the tree. One should not be proud or falsely puffed up. In this way, one will surely advance in spiritual life. So, Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarurapi Sahishuna, Manina Manadena. Then we will make advancement in spiritual life. So, humility and determination. These are the two things which are very necessary. You have humility, but you have no determination to control the senses, to have, like good sadhana. So then it doesn't work. Just humility, yes. And determination alone without humility means you think I'm doing everything. It's my own determination that I'm doing everything. So you don't have humility. Then you may become proud because of you think, oh, I'm more determined than others. I'm more determined than others, and others are not so advanced as me, and then you can make offenses to others, and then that will be so. So if we are determined, we should think that this is Krishna's mercy, Prabhupada's mercy, that I'm getting this determination to pursue on this path, to control my senses. So like that, then we will not become proud. So we have to remain humble at the same time, but at the same time you have to be also very determined. So gentle humility and fierce determination are the two things by which we can make spiritual advancement. Okay. We can hear a class by Prabhupada. It's been a while. So I was hearing one yesterday. Let me put this. This is Prahlad Maharaj. Sorry. Since Subhanda has gone to the temple, we don't know what is the next class. So I just put this. Okay. 7th Canto. Anybody like to say anything? Is anybody there? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any comments? Anything you'd like to share? One minute, let me see which class was that. I think Prabhupada was talking on that verse from Prahlad Maharaj, which says how our life is spoilt in the time, how our time goes. So many years go in sleeping, so many years go in. Let me find that verse. In the seventh canto, when Prahlad Maharaj is instructing his classmates, how we have very little time left. I think it is at verse 6. 766, I think that's the verse. So let me see Prabhupada's lecture on 766. I heard partly before sleeping yesterday, and then I want to finish this. Maybe I can just read the lecture. Every human being's, then we can hear afterwards. Every human being's duration of life is maximum 100 years, when nobody lives 100 years. Out of this 100 years, person who cannot control the senses misuse half of them. So 50 years lost. Therefore, such person's duration of life is 50 years. The other balance 50 years is completely lost because it's at night he sleeps 8 to 12 hours. Pumsho varsha shatam hi ayus tadartham chajitatmanah nishvalam yadasho ratriyam sete andham prapitastamah. Now ayur vyayaha. Prahlad Maharaj has explained how these foolish persons are simply wasting time for economic development. I shall get money, and with money, dharma, artha, kama, I shall satisfy my senses. This is going on, dharma, artha, kama. Nobody is trying for moksha. Means going, everybody is interested. How I can get more money, how I can get more money. So in this way, more than you need. So, dharmartha, they come to the temple just to become a dharmi. But the real purpose is, my dear Lord, I am a very poor man, please give me some money. So Prabhupada says, from dharma you want artha. Artha, and you want economic development because you want kama. You want sense gratification. So in that way. So like that. So dharma, artha, kama. And what will you do with the money? Kama. I shall satisfy my senses. This is going on. So Krishna gives them. Yatha mam prapadyante. So they want this, and whatever you want, Krishna is giving. Krishna is reciprocating with our desires. We wanted to enjoy independently of Krishna. So Krishna created the material world. Whatever you have desired. Because without Krishna's sanction, we cannot fulfill any desires. But Krishna is so kind that even we have the wrong desires, Krishna is allowing that to be fulfilled. We came to the material world. Sometimes people say, why Krishna created the material world? If it is so bad, it's going to be so bad. Because we were insisting. We were stubborn. We were insisting, so Krishna says, like Prabhupada's son was insisting, I want to put my hand in the fan. He said, no, don't do it, don't do it. But he said, no, I want to put my hand. Okay, put. And then get hurt. So similarly, in this material world, we get dukkha. In dukkhalam, we get dukkha. And then we realize, oh my God, this is not the place I want to be in. So if we don't understand by hearing, then that dukkha has to come in our life in the form of birth, death, old age and disease. Nobody can escape this. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi. So then that dukkha will actually then inspire us. Oh, there's something problem here. I've turned away from, and then you start to question why this dukkha is coming. I don't want dukkha, but why dukkha is coming? But Maya covers the dukkha because we get some illusory happiness. So Maya, we can't see these problems. That's why Krishna says, see the problems in material existence. What is the problem? He's explicitly saying, see the problems. You are in illusion, so you don't see any problem. Go and see a dying person. Buddha, like how he saw, see how they are. So this is no slap of Maya. Unless there is a slap of Maya, we don't become serious. We don't become like inquisitive. We don't become detached. So the Maya is slapping us. That is also Krishna's mercy. That because if we don't learn it the right way, then somebody has to teach it the hard way. So the material world is the hard way. So ye athamam prapadyante. It is not that Krishna does not give. Krishna satisfies always. For this reason, it is recommended that even if you have got some lusty desires to fulfill, still you go to Krishna, and He will satisfy it. So we have, of course, we came into this material world because of our lusty desires. Lust means to enjoy my own senses. So we came to this material. So Krishna says, okay, I create this material world, you want it. So, and now also we have so many desires for this thing and that thing and for enjoyment. So Krishna is fulfilling those desires. Krishna will satisfy it. Even if you have got some lusty desires to fulfill, still you go to Krishna and He will satisfy it. Don't go to other demigods. Like Dhruva Maharaj had a lusty desire in terms of getting more kingdom and reputation. But he did Tivra Bhakti. Bhagavatam says, okay, even if you have all lusty desires, Sarva Kama, material desires means lusty desires. You have all material desires, but still you engage very intensely, like Dhruva Maharaj did, intense. Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajita Purusha Param. So very intensely you engage in Krishna's service. Then after some time those desires will go away. By Krishna's grace and of course the grace of Narad Muni. Kamestesta Ritagyana Yajanti Anya Devata. Generally people go to the other demigod for fulfilling their lusty desires. Mother Goddess Kali, I am a very great devotee of you. Kindly allow me to eat meat. That's all. Mother says, all right, bring one black goat and offer me and then take prasadam. I don't know, Kali doesn't like also, she's a Vaishnavi, but this is meant for the meat eaters. The purpose is to restrain him. Instead of purchasing meat from the slaughterhouse, the Shastra says, all right, you eat meat in this way. This is a restriction. This is not indulgence. Loke vivaya amisha madhya seva nityastu jantu nahi tatra chodana. To eat meat, to have sex life, amisha madhya seva, to drink intoxication, these things are naturally there. So why Shastra should encourage them? That's why Narad Muni told Vyasadeva, he kind of criticized Vyasadeva. All these things, people are already addicted to these things and you have just encouraged by your karma kanda to do all these things. So he chastised Vyasadeva. So why Shastra should encourage them? Yes, you can eat meat by offering puja, worship to Goddess Kali. Yes, you may have sex life by marrying. In this way, their Shastra, they are mentioned. But this is not encouraging. This is restraining. That if he is not married, he will enjoy sex life like cats and dogs. Therefore, Shastra says, all right, don't become cats and dogs. Become a human being and get married and have your sex life under restraint. Similarly, if you are Rakshasa, you want to eat meat, don't eat like Rakshasa. Better offer a goat to be sacrificed before Goddess Kali. This is Shastra, because the goat will be benefited. Because it is offering his life before Goddess Kali, he will immediately get the body of human being. Immediately promotion. He is benefited and he has the right to kill this man. These are the injunctions in Shastra. So, yeah, I am taking your life, in future you will take my life. So meat eating is not encouraged, but it is to discourage meat eating. So Shastra never encourages this. But those who are in Tamogun, in darkness, just to raise them gradually to Sattva Gun, some concession is given. Like, okay, you are insisting on eating meat? Okay, eat meat like this. No meat eating, no gambling. So, but you want to do this? Okay, you do like this. No intoxication. Now Prabhupada is talking about intoxication. Just like government. Government opens liquor shop. The liquor shop is open not to encourage. Nowadays, of course, the situation is different. But the fact is that if government does not open liquor shop, that these rascals will distill liquor every home. Therefore, government gives some concession. These are concession. These are not required at all. For human being, they are not required. Therefore, we restrict. No intoxication, no meat eating. It is not required. Simply, we are habituated to indulge in this sinful activity. So, people are not dying if they are not eating meat. They are not drinking. But we have become habituated, Prabhupada is saying. They are not required. To speak frankly, there is no necessity even for marrying. There is no necessity. If one can remain a brahmachari all through, that is great benefit. Great benefit. Yan maithunadi grihamedi sukhamitucham. What is the benefit? It is increasing botheration. But they are trying to get out of botheration, just like we see advertisement. 1, 2, 3 bus, no more children. Another, what I shall do? Now kill, that's all. Kill them by contraceptive method or directly. Don't allow more than 1, 2 or 3 children. They understand this is botheration. And the Shastras also say botheration. Yan maithunadi grihamedi sukhamitucham kandu yanena karayoriva dukkha dukkham tripyanti neha kripana bahu dukkha bhaja kandu tivan manasijam vishaheta dhira. All right, I have begotten one child. I have to take care of. So much care always. But all right, you have trouble, taken so much trouble. Stop here. No more. No, again. Tripyanti neha kripana bahu dukkha bhaja. There's so many botherations, but still we do it practically. Why? So why we do this? Even though it's a botheration, it is said that ajitatmanaha cannot control the senses. So children, Prabhupada is saying this here. Everybody knows it's so much trouble, so much sacrifice to raise one child. Then they have another child, then they have another child. Then why they cannot stop this? Because ajitatmanaha. Ajita means they have not. Jita means conquered, and ajita means not conquered. They cannot control their senses. Become victimized of sense enjoyment. Ajitatmanaha. So why they are ajitatmanaha? Because they have not surrendered to Krishna. You can only become ajitatmanaha or jita atmanaha, not ajitatmanaha. Jita atmanaha only when you are surrendered to Krishna. So Prahlad Maharaj is speaking of this ajitatmanaha, those rascals who cannot control the senses. Their first business is sleep as much as possible, 12 hours, 14 hours in the Western countries, sometimes 16 hours or 24 hours. In the beginning, in that Second Avenue, 26, whenever morning prayer was going on, at 7, not very early, and so many other tenants, half naked, Mr. Judah was our landlord. So Prabhupada was staying at 26 Second Avenue. So Judah was the landlord. Mr. Judah, what is this going on? What is going on? So 7 o'clock, Prabhupada would do Mangala Arati or something like that. Stop it, stop it, stop. So Mr. Judah used to say, no, they will not stop. I cannot say. You go to the police. So other people were complaining that this Hare Krishnas, they are making noise. And so there's a Judah who's the landlord. He says, I cannot do anything. You go to the police. So sometimes police were coming to stop us because we did not stop. So ajitatmanaha. Because they are sleeping in morning 7 o'clock, they are sleeping. Jitatmanaha. The human life is meant for gaining victory over the senses. So we are meant to be Goswami. We are meant to be the master of our mind and our senses. We tell the mind what the mind should do and the mind should obey. And intelligence should be directed according to Shastra, according to Krishna. And that's how mind should do. But what happens? We find mind often overtakes our intelligence. And mind drags us to do many things. So we are not ajitatmana. Or we are ajitatmana. We have not conquered our senses, the mind. And that's why we are dragged over. And why we have not conquered? Because we have not sufficiently become Krishna conscious. Because if we were Krishna conscious, then we would be able to control our mind. So we have to become Krishna conscious genuinely, then we can control. The human life is meant for gaining victory over the senses. No, better be victimized by the senses. That is modern civilization. Modern civilization means you become a slave of your senses. Your tongue says, now I want to eat this, go into this restaurant and eat this, like that. Eyes say, now the skin says, touch this, and like that. So this is modern civilization, Prabhupada says, to be victimized by the senses. Modern civilization means the more you become victimized by the senses, you are advanced. And people think this is fun, this is enjoyment, and they think you are advanced. So here, Ajitatmanaha, their first business is to eat voraciously and sleep unlimitedly. This is Ajitatmanaha. So this Ajitatmana in another place, Bhagavata, it is said, Pashyatam Atma Tattvam Griheshu Grihamedinam Nidraya Riyate Naktam Vyavayena Cha Vavayaha Apashyatam Atma Tattvam Griheshu Grihamedinam. This family life, Griheshu Grihamedinam, who are very much attached, this is Maya. Prahlad Maharaj, from the age of 5 years, he condemned Hitvatmapatam Grihamandakupam. The Griha, this so-called family life, is a dark well. We are thinking we are very happily living with nice wife and children and working very hard, getting money. But Shastra says you are fallen in the dark well. Grihamandakupam. And all right, let me remain here. No, Atmapatam, if you remain in this way, you will kill your soul. Atmapatam. Therefore, in Vedic civilization, there is compulsory, get out. Pancha Shodhvam Vanam Vrajet. Now you are 50 years old past. Immediately get out. No, I've got so many duties, I've got this. No. Vrajet, compulsory. The verb is used, vidilin. Where there is no argument, you must. Like in that other verse, Tasmat Guru, no, what is that? Tasmat Guru Prapate Jigyashushe. What is the other verse? Tasmat Guru Prapate Jigyashushe Uttamam. And then there is another verse that if you want, you must approach a guru. Tad Vijnanartham Sa Gurum Eva Abhigachet. So, one must approach. So, it's compulsory, like that. Huh?
Yeah. Samitpan Shruti.
Brahmanishtam.
Brahmanishtam.
Correct. Tasmat Guru. No. Yes. How does I was Tasmat Guru Prapadyate Jigyashu Shreya Uttamam Shabde Parijanishnatam Brahmani Ashrayam. Yeah, that's one word I always get. There's another verse that, the one you were saying. So one must approach. So at 50 years, one must get out. Prabhupada is saying in the class here. Therefore, in Vedic civilization, there is compulsory get out. Get out means now 50 years means life is going to end any time. It's very less time left. So now become detached. Oh, I've got so many duties. Oh, I've got this, I've got... No, Rajat, compulsory. Because duties will go on till the very fag end of your life. So you just surrender to Krishna. Like Prabhupada was giving one example. Mrs. Sharma, she wanted to come and live with the devotees in the temple. And the family was saying, no, you cannot go because you have this duty and that duty. She has served the family whole life and still they are not allowing her to go. So like that Prabhupada was saying. So, Pancha Shodhvam Vanam Rajet. So now basically we come to Varnashram. This is Vanaprastha, which Prabhupada says, yes, it's compulsory. The verb used is used vidilin, where there is no argument. You must. Just like when nature calls you, means you have to go to the bathroom, right? Then you have to go. You cannot resist, right? I mean, you can resist for some time, but then sometimes you can't resist. Just like when nature's call you, you must do it. Similarly, this is Vedic civilization. Not that unless you are killed or being shot down by somebody else, you are not living the Griham Andakupam. Not that you are involuntarily dragged out, then only you will live. No, before that, before that happens, you voluntarily give it up. Like we say, proactive. When you are proactive, you anticipate that death is coming and you start preparing. Not that you just stay like that. You have to be proactive, at least after 50 years of age. But of course, we don't know when death is. Yesterday, one lady came to our program, Bengali lady, and her husband has already passed away. Yeah, she was saying, my wife was asking, she was in Bengali, they were conversing. She's like not so old, maybe 45, 50, something like that. And her husband has already passed away. So she says, I am widowed. So you never know how many people, so many people have died like that. So not that unless you are killed or being shot down by somebody else, you are not living Griham Kupam. This is not Vedic civilization. Means now things will go on without me also. Vedic civilization is the Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. You must be prepared, especially the higher castes, especially the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas must observe the four Adhyatmic principles, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha. So those are Brahmanas. They go up to Sannyas. Brahmana, they do not go even to the Grihastha life, remain Brahmachari. But even if he goes, only for 25 years, means 25 to 50. That also considering the lifespan is 100 years. But lifespan is not 100 years. Who lives 100 years now? So it should be earlier for Brahmana. It is said, Pumso Varsha Shatam Hi Ayu. So divide this Varsha Shatam, 100 years, 25 years Brahmachari, 25 years Grihastha, 25 years Vanaprastha, last 25 years Sannyas. That is real civilization. Not that no Brahmachari, no Vanaprastha, no Sannyas, simply Grihastha. They are not Grihastha, they are called Grihamedi. Apashyatam Atma Tattvam Griheshu Grihamedi Nam. There are two words, Grihamedi and Grihastha. Grihastha means that is only for 25 years. No more, not more than that. That is Grihastha. And those who are Grihastha up to the point of death, or unless he is killed, that is Grihamedi. Grihamedi means he has made his center the wife and family. Just like one cow is, tied with rope and with a fixed up wood, and is going round here this way, and is thinking he's going round the world. Yes, so Grihamedi means he has fixed up his center, the wife and children, and going round throughout the whole life, no ending. So cow tied to a pole and going around the pole like that. They are called Grihamedi. And Grihastha means Grihastha Ashram. Grihamedi Ashram Nahi. Grihamedi, only Grihamedi, and Grihastha Ashram. Grihastha Ashram means it is as good as other ashram. But as Prabhupada says, for 25 years. Like that. Sannyas Ashram, Grihastha Ashram. If he lives according to the regulatory principle, that is ashram. And Grihastha Ashram only for the purpose of having children. One indulges in sex life for the purpose of having children. And then at 50, one renounces. That is also not for all the time, only for 25 years. So those who do not observe the rules and regulations, they are called Ajitatmanaha, uncontrolled victims of senses, victimized by the senses, Ajitatmanaha. So their business is to sleep as much as possible. They will never practice to get up early in the morning. Unless they are bound or not, they cannot take to this practice. These are Ajitatmanaha. So Nishphalam, this Ajitatmanaha means that they are passing their days. So on another place Prabhupada was saying, when you are 50, you should think that I have some few years left in my life. Let me devote this life, remaining 20 years, if one has I think in the, not even 20, he said 50 years. If one has 50 years of life, in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, yesterday I was at the program, we were reading the introduction. Prabhupada says that if one has this brief span of life, 50 years, he says that 50 years, yeah. If one has 50 years of life ahead of him, he should engage that brief time We may not have 50 years also. But from the point of view of eternity, 50 years is nothing. Time goes so fast. So one should cultivate the practice of remembering without any means. One should cultivate such strongly that one should surrender to Krishna, because this is 50 years, like Prabhupada told Bhakti Charu Maharaj, one life give to Krishna. You have already given so many lives to Maya. So what is that? One life you give to Krishna. And of that one life also we have not given so many years. Only half life is remaining. So give this remaining life to Krishna. Like that. He was encouraging. So these Ajitatmana means they are passing their days without any benefit. Nishphalam, without any result. Human life is meant for good result. Arthadam madhruvam, durlabham manusham janma, tadapya dhruvam arthadam. That is Prahlad Maharaj's description. That is the fact. The human life is so valuable, and I shall waste it simply by sleeping. Therefore, the Goswamis, our predecessor gurus, they have shown Nidra, Hara, Vihara, Kadi, Vijito. So Nidra and Ahar, sleep and eating, and Vihar means recreation, which is sense gratification. Recreation. They have conquered over this sense gratification and eating and sleeping and mating, like that. They conquered over these things, Nidra, sleeping. Nidra is very dangerous according to Vedic civilization. It is simply waste of time. If one is not serious about this value of this human form of life, he may waste his time. And even while chanting, we will fall asleep. So we have to do regulated by sleeping. But no, if we follow our predecessors, our Goswamis, we were all ministers, but they came to Vrindavan to practice what? Nidra, Hara, Vihara, Kadi, Vijito. To conquer over sleeping, eating and mating. Of course, they were never married. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. Even Raghunath Das Goswami, he was married. Raghunath Das Goswami was married, but he gave up. And coming to Vrindavan, if we indulge in that way, then what is the use of coming to Vrindavan? So go to hell and live there. So Vrindavan life is that. You have to practice Nidra, Hara, Vihara, Kadi, Vijito. That is wanted. Like Vrindavan is meant for renunciation, as Devi Shakti Mataji was saying to us. So those who are Ajitatmanaha, although they have got 100 years age, still 50 years they are wasting at least, because they will sleep at night 12 hours. So 50 years wasted, another 50 years. Or either you waste your time at night in sleeping or in sense gratification. That Prabhupada quoted this verse. Nidraya riyate naktam vyavayana chavavayaha. Or in sex life. And or sleeping or sex life. And then you cannot see apashyata matva tattvam, because you are indulging in sense gratification. The Grihamedis, they cannot see what is exactly going on in this short human form of life. They cannot realize. So, and doing sense gratification, and then everything goes. You cannot get up early in the morning, you cannot chant Hare Krishna, and everything goes like that. Unless they are bound or not, they cannot take to this practice. These are Ajitatmanaha. So Nishphalam, this Ajitatmanaha means they are passing their days without any benefit. Nishphalam. I think we read this. Nidra is very dangerous according to Vedic civilization. It's simply waste of time. If one is not serious about the value of this human form of life, he may waste his time by sleeping. If we follow our predecessors, our Goswamis were all ministers. Okay. We read this. So those who are Ajitatmanaha, although they have got 100 years, still 50 years they are wasting at least, because they will sleep at night 12 hours. So out of 24 hours, you sleep 12 hours. So 50 years wasted. Another 50 years, that will be described in the next verse. 20 years by sporting. Because a man, it is natural, every country, they are students. Instead of becoming brahmachari, guru grihe vasandanta, instead of becoming shanta, danta, very peaceful, they are indulging in sporting. They also introduced in India also. I've seen in Calcutta many young men at 12 o'clock, they are playing football. Why? There is no engagement. What he'll do? Unemployment. There is no employment. Because education means to become servant, to write one application and go office to office. Sir, give me some service. No, 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 no. No vacancy. Get out. This is education. After taking the MA, BA degrees, they have no employment. So what they'll do? They'll form party of anarchists and Naxalite and play football because they must have some engagement. So this is the advancement of civilization. Instead of utilizing the valuable form of human life, there is always wasting. At night they are sleeping and at noon they are playing football. You see, wasting in this time. So this will be explained next verse. Mugdhasya balye keshore kridato yati vimshati. By so-called sporting life, 20 years passed. 50 years by sleeping and 20 years by football. Then 70 years passed, and Jaraya Grasta Dehaya Yati Akalpasya Vimshati. And when he's old man, here is pain, here is rheumatism, here is what is called diabetes, and so on, so on. So by treatment, by blood examination, by this, Vimshati, another 20 years. So 20 years sporting, 20 years diabetes, and 50 years sleeping. Then what is left? Where is the opportunity for Krishna consciousness? This is modern civilization. So we are trying to save people from this modern civilization. Modern means in this age it is excessively increased. But this process was existence. That is the way of material life. So in Satya Yuga it was less. In Treta Yuga it was more. And in Dwapara Yuga it is still more. And Kali Yuga it is full. This is the difference of ages. Therefore Kalo in this age, Nasteva, 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 Gatiranyatha, Harinam, 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 Eva Kevalam. Kalo Sankirtana Prayar Yajanti Hi Sumedasha. There is no hope for liberation from this material bondage except chanting this Hare Krishna mantra. Otherwise, it is not possible. Other things it is. If you want to revive the old Vedic civilization, Brahmachari and Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Brahmana and Kshatriya, these are all spoiled. Everything is spoiled. Then what is the position? Kalo Shudra Sambhava. In this age, simply they are Shudras. So how Shudras will be delivered? By your Krishna consciousness. Not only Shudras, who are less than Shudras. Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha. Abhira Sumbhayavana Khashadaya Yanyecha Papa Yadapashraya Ashraya Shuddhyanti Tasmai Prabhu Vishnave Namaha. Not only Sudras, the less than Panjamas, 10 great, all rascals and all simple, sinful men, they will be delivered simply by Krishna consciousness. Papi Tapi Yatachilo Hariname Uttarilo. Take this chanting of Hare Krishna and your life will be saved. So for that also you need time. You have to find time chant Hare Krishna. And if you are chanting Hare Krishna properly, then naturally you will become detached. Because Prabhupada said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tricked us. Krishna came and said, Sarva Dharman Parityaja, surrender to me. And we were thinking, oh, surrender, this is a big thing. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, you chant Hare Krishna. You don't have to surrender. You just chant Hare Krishna. Because by chanting Hare Krishna, we will come to the point of surrendering to Krishna. If you are chanting properly and nicely, then we'll come to the point of surrendering our life, our words, everything in the service of Krishna. Wealth, prana, artha, diya, vacha. Everything will surrender to Krishna when we become sufficiently purified by chanting Hare Krishna and avoiding the offenses. So like that, that's Prabhupada's class, very strong. How we waste our time. So many useless things. Even sometimes we have enough money. We think, now I get more. Of course, if you are giving it to Krishna, that's very good. But generally people don't have the heart to give it to Krishna, but to hoard the money, right? Because money is where you have put your blood and sweat. So generally we don't have the heart to give. And we have so many responsibilities and so many things. The burden of self-created responsibilities. So that's why also it's very difficult. Okay. But those responsibilities are only up till 50 years, as Prabhupada said. And then you are done. Then you have to get out. Panchachodvam. It means you have to now wind up and completely dedicate yourself to Krishna's service, because death is coming closer. You have to change. We have to change our consciousness. Dedicating in service means ultimately we have to change the internal consciousness. Ultimately, it is a change of consciousness. That I'll say no to sense gratification and I'll say yes to Krishna. Krishna consciousness means saying no to Maya and yes to Krishna. Krishna service, yes. Like many of you have gone to temple for Krishna's service today. So, like that. And okay, so we'll stop here. It's 8:30, 8:40. Thank you very much for your association. Hare Krishna. Anybody has any comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, just Hare
Hare
Krishna. Any comments? Suresh Kumar, you have any comments?
Prabhuji, no.
Okay. Okay, nobody looks like he has any comments. We'll stop here. Thank you.